Third through fourth grade, welcome back. Our sniglet today is Ketchpus. And it does look like it's just ketchups misspelled, doesn't it? I think the two words probably that were combined were ketchup and puss. Ugh. Ketchpus is the red, watery drool that oozes from the ketchup bottle before the actual ketchup. In my experience, this happens with the mustard bottles as well. Yuck. But now you have a word for it. Our Shakespeare quotation comes from Henry VI, part 1. It is the phrase, or the word, faint-hearted. And I believe he made up this word. It just typically, before this time especially, you wouldn't describe someone who was a coward as faint-hearted, but that's the idea, a heart that faints easily, a heart that isn't strong or healthy. So emotionally, a person who is not courageous would be described as faint-hearted and came from Shakespeare. Our Proverbs today is Proverbs 8:8. It says, "All the words of my mouth are with righteousness. Nothing crooked or perverse is in them." You think about something that's crooked. Perverse is another word for crooked, although perverse is normally used to describe someone's character or the quality of something that's normally not wholesome or good. And so think about that as far as your words. The person is saying that his words are not crooked, they're not perverse. And the opposite of that would be righteous words, words that are true and righteous. They agree with God's word. They're wholesome and healthy. They're straight. So I think that's really interesting. I know we've seen a lot of proverbs about lying. This is similar. Are your words honest, truthful, wholesome and healthy words that promote good things? All right, so our video last week was quite long. This week it's going to be quite short. Isn't that great news? So first, we're going to talk about writing a summary from this past year. So how would you write a summary? And why would you write a summary? I'm going to start with the why. A lot of people send out Christmas cards with short paragraph summaries that include a few highlights of the year. Highlights meaning maybe 3 to 5 important things that happened to their family. So what are some things that you could think of that have happened to your family? It could be a new family member that was born into your family or married into your family. It could be a new pet, or maybe your dad got a promotion or your mom got a promotion or you moved, or maybe someone in your family had a big accomplishment, a graduation, a book published, some sort of achievement, maybe a championship won, or maybe a new skill, like somebody learned a new instrument or learned to play a new sport or started up a new hobby. So pick what you would think of as the 3, maximum 5 biggest things that happened to your family this year. And then you're going to tell your audience, and you think of your audience as close friends or family, because it's something you would put on a Christmas card. Now, when you include this information and you tell these important events or these significant achievements, if you put them in a paragraph form for your card, there are 2 main ways to organize them, and you need to choose one. The first way seems to be the most logical way, is to tell your information chronologically. Now that's a fancy word. All it means is in order of time. In other words, how it happened. So maybe there were 3 events this year. Maybe you have a new baby brother. You started playing soccer in the fall, and you started 3rd grade in the fall. Well, if your baby brother was born at the beginning of the year, then you would start with your baby brother. And then you would start with maybe sports, because it might have started at the end of the summer, or mention sports next. And then the third thing you would talk about is your new grade, your new class. Maybe it was a new school. So you would do it in order of how it happened in your year. That's a very natural way to tell about these events. But the second way is a little more interesting. And you truly can choose either one. But let me explain the second one. The second one would mean that you organize it according to the order of significance. Significance is another fancy word. It just means importance, the order of importance, or how it affected the biggest news. So if we're to use this example, I'm going to go back to my example about a new baby in your family, a new sport, and a new school or grade. So what you want to do is, on your brainstorming sheet, you want to include, write your list, and maybe not even in list form, just write it on your paper. And then you want to take some time to number it according to significance. Which one's the most significant? I would say probably the new baby. I'm going to put a 1 by that one. And then maybe I thought that the new sport was the next most significant and the new school was the last. And then when you write your paragraph, you're actually going to write it in reverse order so that the most important thing is last. You end on a climax, the highest note. So I would tell my paragraph, I talk about these things in reverse order. So I talk about my new school, being a fun new thing, enjoying my class. I really like my teacher. Then I would talk about, I also started a new sport this fall, and we started at the end of the summer, and I'm really enjoying soccer, and we've had a great team. The season just finished up, but I hope to play again next fall. And then lastly, the biggest news for our family is we added a new family member back in January, and that's going to be the most important. So it comes at the end. It's kind of like the biggest, save the best for last. That is least important to most important. But there's also something called the sandwich method. This is when you have maybe 2 really big things, but something that's a little bit lesser. So maybe you have let's go back to our brainstorming. Let's pretend we have a new baby. Okay, we'll use that one again. And maybe you have a new sport, but let's say maybe you have somebody, let's see here. I'm trying to think of a really big one. Maybe the new one is you moved across the country and now you're in a new state. You live in Alaska and you're letting your family know. So that one's pretty big too. So maybe I'm going to renumber these now because I have some new ones here. So maybe the baby's the most important still. And maybe the move to Alaska is pretty big, and then the new sport. Well, the sandwich method, what it does is you still keep your most important point last. Okay, that's number 1. But you might put your next most important one first, and then your least important one in the middle, so that you start off with a bang and you end with a bang. And you want to include this information because it's good, but it's not quite as powerful. So my paragraph would be first about, hey, everybody, we've had a great year. There's a lot of new things going on. We moved to Alaska, and it's been really awesome. Big news. And we also, started a lot of new things in our new, neighborhood and school. And I started a new sport, and my sport this year was soccer. But then the biggest news of all is we have a new family member, a new baby. That is called the sandwich method. That's a little bit more complex, but it can make for a really interesting paragraph. So I'm going to let you decide whether or not you want to write it, your paragraph chronologically, which just means order of time, or order of significance. And if you choose significance, you can choose to order it least important to most important, which would be 3, 2, 1, or the sandwich method, which would be 2, 3, 1. Okay? Now, before I go though, for some of you, I'm going to give an alternate homework assignment. So if you talk to your parents and your parents would like for you to create a Christmas newsletter instead of a Christmas card summary, and they're really going to use it, then go ahead and take this week and write another article for your Christmas newsletter. Especially if you're doing it with siblings or cousins, this is the one for you. Again, make sure this is what your parents want. Either one would be a great assignment. And you might even want to look back over last week's notes and as you write another article, and just make sure you're following those same instructions. The same grading applies. And either one would be a totally acceptable assignment for this week. Parents, when you grade for the first assignment, you would give a total of 10 points. They would get a point for, I'm going to mark this quickly, a point for checking off each of these requirements. A summary of the past year would be a requirement. Doing it in an intentional order would be a point. Then I would also give them 2 points for each of their examples. So that is another 6. So you're up to 8. And then 2 points for doing it on time and making sure it has a correct title or summary. So that's a total of 10 points for this assignment. And that's just 10 completion points. So for everything that they leave out or neglect to do, you take away a point. Then, separate from the completion points, then you will want to edit it. And in this way, you mark it up like we've talked about and only hold them responsible for things that they would know up till now. You know your student, and then have them revise it and get it back to you. I would only mark up to 10 things. So, and that would be if you want a separate revision grade, up to 10 points for everything they correct. Okay? And then for the alternate Christmas newsletter article, follow the same requirements we had last week. A point for each of these requirements, and of course getting it done on time. And for my students, my kids, my nieces, we are going to do the alternate homework assignment. I look forward to reading your articles.